So today we're going to look at understanding blood and blood types. Um, so we have what is blood? The first thing that we know about blood is it's a specialized body fluid. There are four main components. You have red blood cells, which carry your oxygen, white blood cells, which fight infection. You have your platelets, which cause clotting, and you have your plasma, which is basically 90% water. It also has some proteins and sugar and vitamins and hormones and etc. in there. So let's see if this video will work for us. And it's not going to work for us, so we're going to go back. So what are antigens and antibodies? So the difference in human blood are due to the presence of or absence of these protein molecules called antigens and antibodies. Antigens are basically proteins on the surface of the red blood cells with the plasma membrane, and antibodies are proteins in the blood plasma. So if you look in the picture below, they have like a little blue star that represents your antibodies, so you can sort of see how they're just sort of floating in there with your red blood cells. So you have different blood groups, and the individuals have different types, and they're combinations of these antigens and antibodies which create your different types. So the blood group you belong to depends on what you have inherited from your parents. So if you have type A blood, you have A antigen. If you have type B blood, you have B antigen. If you have type AB blood, you have both A and B antigens. And if you have type O blood, you do not have antigens. So this is sort of what it looks like. We use I's to represent our bloods, and then we attach big A's or big B's, and then we have little i's to represent O. So in this table, O is represented by two little i's. They're neither A nor B antigens are present. A can be two types. You can have an I with a big A and a little I, or you can have two big I's with big A's. And so that is A antigen is present. B is big I, big B, little I, or big I, big B, big I, big B, and you have B antigens present. AB blood is big I A, big I B, and so both A and B antigens are present. So what happens when blood mix? Not all blood groups are compatible, so mixing incomplete blood groups leads to blood clumping, which can cause you to die if the clumps go to certain parts of your body. So clumping occurs when the antibodies of the recipient's blood attach to the antigens of the donor blood. So here's a breakdown of how the blood can be related to each other. So if you are type AB blood, you have A and B antigens and you do not have any antibodies. So you can give blood to other AB people. You can receive blood from AB, A, B, and O type bloods. So you are known as the universal recipient. Type A blood has A antigens, has B antibodies. You can give blood to A or AB people, and you can receive blood from A or O people. B, you have B antigens, A antibodies. You can give blood to B people and AB people, and you can receive blood from B people and O people. O, you do not have antigens. You have both A and B antibodies. You can give blood to any of the blood groups, and you can receive blood only from O. So O blood is known as the universal donor. So what is the Rh factor? Rh is yet another antigen found on the surface of some of the blood types. Those who have the antigen are called Rh positive. Those who do not have the antigen are called Rh negative. So a person with Rh negative blood can develop Rh antibodies if the Rh positive blood is received. So Rh antigens trigger that production of that Rh antibody. So a person with Rh plus blood can receive blood from a person with Rh negative blood without any problems. So what's your blood type? There's 38% of the population that's O positive, 7% is O negative, 9% is B positive, and 2% is B negative. 34% is A positive, and 6% A negative. 3% AB positive, and 1% AB negative. So blood transfusions. Who can receive blood from whom? So transfusions work if a person who receives blood has a blood grouping that does not have antibodies against the donor blood's antigens. So if a person who receives blood has antibodies matching the donor blood's antigen, the red blood cells in the donated blood will clump. And that's not good. So these are some practice problems that you can do along if you wish. You set up Punnett squares, you put one on top, one on the bottom, and then you cross them and see what you would have. So whose baby is it? At the hospital, two babies were accidentally mixed up and the parents didn't know which baby belonged to whom. So the blood groups of everyone involved is listed below. So determine which baby belongs to which couple. So baby A has baby 1 has type A blood, baby 2 has type O blood. Mr. Brown has type AB blood. Mrs. Brown has type B blood. Mr. Smith has type B blood, and Mrs. Smith has type B blood. So the baby 1 must belong to Mr. and Mrs. Brown because they cannot create a type O baby because only one parent could possibly contain the little I allele, which would be Mrs. Brown. Baby 2 must belong to Mr. and Mrs. Smith because they cannot create a type A baby because neither of them carry the A allele. So which child is adopted in this scenario? The Tyler family has 3 kids, one of which is adopted. The blood types of the parent and the children are listed below. Determine which child is adopted. So you would set up Punnett squares, take the mom, which is AB, and the dad, which is O. So if they're AB and O, then they only could have children that are AO or BO. And so if you look, Martha is the one that is AB, so she is the one that has to be adopted because dad is type O and cannot give anything except an O blood to her. And since she doesn't have O blood, she has AB, she cannot be his child. So Dr. Charles Drew was the person who basically resulted in the Red Cross blood program, and he was a African American blood specialist. He was a surgeon, he was an educator, and he was a scientist. And so his work basically was to collect blood, look at the plasma and process it. Transfusion laid the foundation for the modern blood bank that we know today. So did you know that Drew attended Amherst College in Massachusetts, then medical school at Montreat McGill University in Canada? At Amherst, he basically received an athletic scholarship and was made captain of the school's track team and winner of the football team's Most Valuable Player award. He made many of his discoveries on blood while doing graduate research at Columbia University in New York City. He became the first African American to receive a Doctor of Medical Science degree from Columbia University, and he returned to his hometown of Washington, D.C. from the Red Cross Blood Project in New York and continued to teach the next generation of African American doctors as a professor of surgery at Howard University.